For the past 4 years, I always wanted to make money online, but nearly that entire time, I didn't even make a single dollar. But in 2024, I closed just shy of $150,000 in sales for my online coaching business and partnerships. However, there was an underlying reason in my life and in my business that kept me stuck. And until I broke out of that trap, I didn't make more than $5,000 for years. So I'll share with you what that was and why it stopped me from making money much sooner, as well as how it stops you from making more money in 2024, all without you realizing it exists. Chapter 1, the mental loop. So it was the fall of 2022, and I had set out to make tens of thousands of dollars a month after binge watching some Iman Gadzhi videos, Hamza videos, and other just random videos on YouTube. I mean, I was sitting there in my room for hours until midnight watching different self-improvement and business videos, as well as the fact that when I was at school, I heard that somebody online was making $10,000 a month online. Like literally somebody in my school I knew at my age was making $10,000 a month online. However, a year later, I'd only made a little over $1,000 online, which that was cool and all, but it's like, dude, I'm going into at that time, I think I was going into my junior year of high school. This was like August or September of 2023, and I still wasn't making the kind of money that I wanted. And what I started thinking was, well, wait, what do I need to do? What actually needs to change? And then I started experimenting with some things, and I was just trying to figure out, how can I make this work? You know, I'm getting closer to the end of 2023. It's, you know, going into fall, and I'm like, something needs to change. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know anything about how I thought about the stuff. But then all of a sudden, boom, $3,000 a month. And then when I look at it, the biggest thing that changed wasn't my business model, or it wasn't anything that you might expect. What it was is what I believe. Now, I know you hear this all the time. Oh, another guy's telling me to change my beliefs. But hold on, give me a second. Because you have to understand, it wasn't just, oh, my beliefs magically changed and now I'm here. I went through a lot of different things, and when I realized that there was, you know, this is your mind, this is my mind. Right? There was a lot of nonsense inside of my mind. And this stuff, think about it like a chain. It was chaining me to the ground, stopping me from getting to the point that I wanted to get to. As every limiting belief, all this nonsense that's in your mind, and every negative behavior, because these beliefs, remember, they create what you think. What you think creates what you do. Everything that I did wasn't because, oh, I was just lazy, or I wasn't motivated, or something that you might have heard before. Truthfully, there was a deeper reason behind all of this struggle, behind why I thought the thoughts I did, and why I did the things I did. And what I realized was the reality is I couldn't understand here. I wasn't gonna be able to understand anything else that happened because I didn't understand where my emotions came from, where my thoughts came from, or where my actions came from. So you need to understand exactly where these come from. And it's not as simple as, oh, I react emotionally when, you know, on a sales call, somebody rejects me and says no. It's deeper than that. Because at a deeper level, these things have been conditioned into you. Meaning that through all of your experiences throughout your entire life, there's been different periods of time where you ended up learning different things and different lessons from these experiences. Well, if we translate that over to the mess that is, well, you within 2024 trying to make money online, the issue is that you need to be able to remove all that stuff, but it's still here. And you try to just put a mask over it by saying, oh, I'm just lazy. I'm just not disciplined. But the truth is none of these identities really help you at all. You identify yourself with being lazy. You identify yourself with these different things, but at the core, these are things you really believe. So is it gonna help yourself to call yourself lazy and then just move on? Or is it gonna be like, you know what, let me take some accountability and say, this is actually what I believe about the world. But you don't want to, and neither did I for a while, because of the fact that when I say, oh, I actually believe these things and I'm not just being lazy for a little moment, or I don't know why, or my brain just turns off when I start procrastinating, you can say all those things, but at the core level, what the truth is that you just believe that that's what you should do with your time. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear. You're probably thinking, oh, let me just stop listening to this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about, but really think about it. Why would you do something that you don't believe is the right thing to do? It's not any of that nonsense you might have been telling yourself. It's not because you're just, oh, lazy and I don't know what to do. Because you believe that thing. And then guess what? That belief creates, you know, that action, and then you react a certain way to that action. So you have a reaction. Guess what? That reaction, that's an experience. That experience comes back to this timeline and goes back into this mess. And then you keep having that loop. That's the mental loop I'm talking about. Think about every time you doom scroll on Instagram Reels after just telling yourself you're going to get out of bed or do the work you know you were supposed to do. It's because of this loop right here. You have this emotional reaction to things you don't even accept that you're truly doing, except you are and you believe you should. And then it creates this emotional negativity that spirals into you thinking thoughts which make you decide to act on these things. Now what you need to understand is the true problem behind this negative mental loop, what it'll turn out into over this next year of 2025, and why you are actually letting yourself stay trapped in this loop. Chapter 2, the problem. So the problem is you are alright with just enough. Meaning you are fine. Like truthfully, you might say that you're not, but to be real, you are fine with just enough in your life, just being comfortable enough, just having just enough money, and I just made enough progress. It's all right. I don't need to go above and beyond. I don't need to be rich. I don't need to get the supercars and those sorts of things. Like, yeah, you don't have to be super materialistically driven to want to make more money. Overall, you have to understand is that you right now, even if you may think you're not, are content with being all right with just enough or just an okay life. And that is the truth, even if you tell yourself it is not. I mean, look at it like this. You can paint an apple orange, but that does not make it an orange, no matter how hard you try to convince yourself that it is. Because as soon as you take a bite of the apple, you taste an apple because it's an apple, it's not an orange. Just like in your life and in your mind, no matter how much you tell yourself that you want more, you want to make more money, you want to do more things. If you never change internally and actually do the stuff to be able to get the things, because you have to be a certain type of person to get the things that you want, then nothing's going to change. And although you continue to tell yourself and everyone else that you're going to get rich, I mean, you just continue to let that trap that we just talked about catch you again and again and again. And it's simply because of the fact that this problem is in place. The problem, the fact that you're all right with it. You don't have enough of a desire to get out of it because you're comfortable within this. Now, okay, how do you even get out of this? Well, the thing is, it's not just as simple as how do you get out of it, but why is it important to get out of it is a better question you should be asking yourself. Why is it so important for me to get out of this? Well, that's what you need to figure out yourself. Define that end vision, because problems are only perceived obstacles stopping you from getting yourself somewhere. And if you want to get to somewhere bad enough, you will find a way around the obstacle. However, if you don't even know where that is, and if you can't clearly tell me right now what that vision looks like for you, you're not going to be able to get around the problems. As let me tell you really a story to back that point home. I spent years in the same cycle of catching myself into the trap that we talked about, where your thoughts make your decisions, making your actions, creating negative emotional reaction, getting back in your mind, all this nonsense appears in that same cycle. Getting mad 2 days later after you just did something, you realized how bad it was, and then another 2 days later, you do the same thing again. Well, at the start of my fitness journey in 2021, I had the same stuff. It's whether it was, trying to show up to the gym on time and do that consistently, or being slightly late to my job back in early of 2023, nearly 2 years ago. I said I was going to improve every time, but nothing fucking changed. And that's because I didn't have that clarity of where I really wanted to get to. So now that you understand the problem behind this, and the fact that this terrible mental trap is holding you back from doing what you want, making that money online in the past year, you need to understand the truth as why I wasn't able to, and why you're not able to break out of it, no matter how hard you try to clarify this goal or vision, how much desire you say you have, or how much you tell yourself you're gonna stop procrastinating, which we both know you still haven't. Chapter 3, the truth. Because the truth is you aren't willing to sacrifice enough in your life to actually make the money you want. I mean, was just looking at it, and I've personally profited tens of thousands of dollars at this point, yet I know I still could have done more. During the beginning stages in 2022, 2023, I wasn't even willing to sacrifice my old girlfriend. That wasn't bad for me, honestly, just wasting my time. That wasn't her fault, it was mine. I was the one who was letting this happen. Same thing with kickboxing. Now you might think, okay, boxing is great, you should pursue your passion. Yes, but no. because for a certain season of your life, you need to be willing to sacrifice certain things. And that's what I did. And right after that, I went from $100 to $3,000 a month. And now I'm even not still willing to sacrifice some things. Because the truth is, and what you need to stop telling yourself, like I would tell myself, I should sacrifice this thing, or I'm going to, or I'm doing a lot of hard work, but realistically I wasn't doing anything. And I kept telling myself that I was willing to sacrifice more than I actually was, and I know you are in the same trap, deluding yourself into believing otherwise. So you're actually not willing to sacrifice very much, because if you actually look at your actions, not what you kind of think sometimes and try to delude yourself into believing, but what you actually do, when looking at that, you realize you haven't sacrificed much from your old identity, what you've done before, and that's why you simply haven't made the progress that you wanted. So you've only made a couple grand, or you're not making just nearly as much as you were looking to make over this past year. Now the hard truth is there's always going to be someone who is willing to sacrifice more than you, and they'll always make more than you are. Now why is that so important to understand? It's because there's always going to be someone better out there. There's always going to be someone in business longer, competitor doing better than you. And there's always going to be somebody who's willing to sacrifice more out of their life right now so they can get more of that outcome that they wanted. So you just need to set clear boundaries like I did and understand what I wasn't willing to sacrifice. This is so you can figure out what you actually are willing to sacrifice, structuring your schedule more efficiently because of the fact that you've been able to figure out, okay, I'm willing to sacrifice this, meaning that now within this time period, I know I'm going to do this, but now I can actually focus on doing this work in my business that I know I need to do. I know I need to follow up with these prospects. I know I need to make sure they show up to the sales calls. And now I can actually focus on this because that's exactly what I did, and it worked really well. I went from booking a few sales calls a month to 40, 50, 60 sales calls, 100 calls a month for my online coaching business over just a couple month time span, because I was able to more effectively structure my schedule because of the fact that I was able to set these boundaries, and I was able to figure out what I was and was not willing to sacrifice. Think about it like this: to be an Olympic level athlete, your entire mind and your entire life has to be centered around your sport. And that's the same thing is true for business, because when you're in business trying to become better, you have to focus more and more time, energy, attention, money all into business, developing your beliefs, traits, and skills in order to grow your business, all in all, so you can make the progress you want. Because you're not going to be able to do that if you don't have a clear path going forward and you don't have a structured schedule that allows you to have time to actually be able to work, to be able to create a plan, to be able to move forward and get the things done you need to get done. With that being said, once you are able to do that, and now you understand the importance of being able to sacrifice things and identify when you have this negative emotion that's reacting to situations in a certain way, and being able to then delineate that between, okay, what am I doing that's serving my business and what's not? And now that you have these things and understand the importance behind them, you need to understand how to bring them all together and create a clear path going forward. Chapter 4, the path forward. So as I was talking about, you need to have a clear path forward so you can understand how to actually utilize this information, as well as stick the importance in your mind. Because, it's all cool, I could yap at you for a whole time, and you might take some of it, but let's be real. You've watched hundreds of these videos, maybe even thousands of them, and barely applied anything. So what I want to do is give you the step-by-step process on exactly what you'll need to do and how to implement this stuff going forward. So first off, number 1 is going to be find what makes you negatively react. So your reactions, because understanding yourself, becoming aware, creates control, because awareness of not only what you react from, but why you react, so what and why, is going to vastly increase the amount of work you're able to do simply because of the fact you're now aware of these things. Now, number 2 is going to be defining the belief, traits, skills, and that means the overall character that you need to be able to combat these negative reactions. So character. Once you can define your character, it's just like in a video game. you can then level up your character. But if you never choose a character to begin with, how are you supposed to level it up? Finally, number 3 is clarify boundaries and then build a schedule around those. So that way you can be fully focused, therefore actually efficiently get work done within the time you say you're going to do it, rather than being worried about the 6 other things like somebody messaging you or, the dance recital you have afterwards. Overall, by doing this, instead of being stuck like a mouse in that trap, waiting and wanting and needing that cheese, that's why it gets stuck in the first place, you'll be able to not only see that trap that we talked about, but you'll be able to safely ease around it, turn the other way without even thinking about it. If you want more of this sort of information and one-on-one access to me, just click the top link in the description, follow me on Instagram, and you'll be able to, get exclusive access to stuff like this all the time. I post it on there completely for free, and you can shoot me a DM and I'll personally help you out.